All right, as folks join, welcome. Good evening, everyone. Um, really welcome to our first signature event in our Tech Talk series, the Science of Amgen, Building a Career with a Biotech Leader. So this program is in conjunction with our Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group organization. So we'll hear a little bit more later on in the presentation. So again, welcome Amgen. Amgen is our renewing visionary partner, so really excited to have a dynamic discussion today. I'm Shadia Haynes. I'm the Professional Development Chair for NSBE Boston chapter, and I'll be leading us in this segment of the program. So to just give us a preview of what's in store tonight, we have a jam-packed agenda, so we want to move efficiently here. So to open us up, we'll start off with our NSBE mission and upcoming events for the chapter. I'll then turn it over to Dolu Obatasan, our programs chair for HiSig. He will join us and deliver a presentation on what HiSig is, its growing footprint across the globe, and signature programs. Will then be followed by a discussion with Amgen, really tying it back to our theme and topic for the evening. Ruhan, the Executive Director of Contract and Development Manufacturing, will lead us in the discussion along with his peers. And then we'll lastly wrap up with a Q&A session moderated by the Amgen team as well. So really looking forward to our discussion tonight. And if we can progress to the next slide, please. So I just hit on a lot of these items here, so we can move on to the next slide. So really, as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of content to talk about, and we are really looking forward to everyone being engaged, but we just want to first just ask if we consider these housekeeping items shown on the screen here really to maximize our time together. So if we are just conscious around our muting and our cameras as well. Hopefully there aren't any questions around that. So if we can jump to the next slide. Just to kick us off, right? Like for our NSBE events, we typically start off with reciting our mission statement. So, you know, in the spirit of keeping things progressing here, if we can all just, I guess, recite the statement to ourselves, and I can just read it aloud as well. So, NSBE mission statement: to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. If we can progress to the next slide. So really what we're trying to summarize here in this slide is our vision, right? To be an opportunity maker for Black students and professionals through STEM, through education, advocacy, and mentoring. And it's here through these objectives called out on the screen. For example, developing our student interest in STEM, creating awareness of careers and STEM careers, just to name a few of how we are able to move closer towards those goals. And as it relates to membership, really calling out some of the benefits of being a member as well, career development, regional and national NSBE events. So really having insights and being able to participate in those areas. If we progress to the next slide. Really what we're trying to convey here is that your continued support for the NSBE Boston chapter is key, and really our goal of really moving the needle and achieving our mission and goals of graduating 10,000 Black engineers by 2025. So here are some of the ways to do that, right? Be more of an volunteer, mentor, participate in fundraising, and also just deepen the membership there. If we can progress to the next slide as well. So coming up, right, some of our events, we have our Inspired STEM Gala that's coming up on March 19th. And really what this event is aimed to highlight NSBE Boston Black students, scholars, professionals in their roles of leadership in the organization, really that's advocating for increasing diversity and representation in STEM. So our event is around the corner, so really hoping that folks are able to participate. This year is March 19th. It's a Saturday in 2022 at the Ritz-Carlton. And I'm sure many folks have attended in previous years and really had a great year or enjoyed themselves. So it didn't make it onto this slide here, but I did want to call out that applications are open. So if you know of graduating senior high school schoolers or college students, please encourage them to apply. Awards will be presented at the gala. So if there's any questions or you want more information, please email scholarship@nesbyboston.org. Yeah, hope to see you there. Any questions, Shayun, Shirley, anything to add?
No, we just look forward to seeing everyone at the event, and we appreciate Amgen's support and continued partnership. And we're happy to kick off Black History Month with this tech talk, and just looking forward to listening to all the wonderful speakers. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So if we progress to the next slide, is just to call out where we can connect. We have engagement on the various platforms here, so certainly continue to follow and stay engaged. With that, I'll turn it over to Dolu to talk a little bit about HiSig.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Shadia. Hope you guys can all hear me. I'm definitely looking forward to that gala that you mentioned. It sounds like it's going to be awesome. I'd like to also thank the NSB Boston professionals for organizing this wonderful event, and for the speakers that are representing Amgen for their time tonight. I definitely look forward to the discussion ahead. And while I have this opportunity, I'll be representing HiSig, the Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group tonight. As Shadia mentioned, or well, I'm not sure if she mentioned, but I'm the program chair. And essentially my role is I'm involved with the development of programs on behalf of HiSig and working with the rest of the board to deliver on events between HiSig and our partners. So, HiSig's vision is to be the most trusted ecosystem for technical expertise and solutions to complex healthcare problems impacting the community, the Black community. And our mission is to promote the development and implementation of innovations that will improve diagnosis, health treatment, progression of injury, prevention of injury, illness, and disease. So we have a very a focus on the healthcare space, as you can probably tell. Next slide. We approach this mission through the implementation of the CARE strategy, right? So CARE is an acronym for Connect, Advance, Recruit and Retain, Educate and Expose. So we connect our members who are interested in healthcare innovation with professionals in academia, government, and industry by way of mentorship, professional development, and career opportunities. So these, through these connections and relationships, we're able to advance healthcare innovation through research development and commercialization. And this network effect of connecting members and advancing healthcare innovation helps us to retain and recruit members who are interested in healthcare innovation. And last but not least, through the relationship building with HiSig on a national level, we've created a platform to positively impact the Black community through education and exposure to healthcare disparities, innovations, and careers. Since 2016, when HiSig was founded, we have grown by about 600% in general body numbers and followers on social media, and even the leadership has grown, which initially started with like 3 engineers, and now we have a board that consists of 12 engineers. And next slide. So to localize the CARE strategy that I mentioned earlier, HiSig has launched the ecosystem model, which was launched in 2020. And the idea of it is to partner with established and growing healthcare hubs across the United States that serve as extensions of HiSig in that area. And while this also demonstrates domestic scope, HiSig has an international footprint with chapters in Caribbean, such as St. Lucia, Trinidad, Jamaica, and also in Africa in countries like Nigeria and Ghana. And we're pretty excited that to also start partnerships and chapters in England and Ireland this year. So stay tuned for that. Next slide, please. So, in alignment with our care strategy, HiSig also manages a platform of projects and programs that function in a coordinated manner, across the NSB's 6 regions. And these include the Design Challenge, University Government Industry Tours, webinars, Network Mixer, Innovation Panel, and the NIMPO Experience Program, which exposes undergraduates to the biopharmaceutical space. And you can find more information about these on our website, which is down below in the footer at nesb.org/HiSig. Next. And I'd also like to use the opportunity to highlight that at the NSB convention happening at Anaheim, California this year, actually in March 23rd to the 27th, we've been approved for these 4 events: the Healthcare Innovation Luncheon, a corporate tour, a network mixer, and a town hall. So, I personally look forward to meeting you guys either in person or virtually at these events. Next slide. And it is an honor, once again, to represent this wonderful team of superstars who are working hard to bring the mission and vision of HiSig and NSB at large to fruition. And, we can't do it alone, and we're always open to volunteers who would be willing to serve on the board and, alongside with the current leaders of HiSig. Next. So lastly, I'd like to use this opportunity to once again thank the NSB Boston Professionals chapter for this platform, and for Amgen for putting this event together, and the opportunity to really speak to you all about who we are as HiSig and what we do. And while you have a chance, I definitely encourage you to scan this QR code and connect with us on LinkedIn, or just send us an email at healthcaresig@nesb.org. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Rohan for the discussion. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you for the intro, Shadia and Donu. Always very inspiring to see how NSB and HiSig continues to drive excellence in the diversity, and we are looking forward to sharing more what we are doing in this space, what Amgen is doing in this space for the next couple of an hour or so. So welcome you all out there, and I want to thank you for taking the time and spend time with us today to learn what we are about. So during this discussion, I hope you will learn more about Amgen, what we are about, and then we'll pivot to what it takes to discover, develop, and commercialize a product. Then we'll be the next topic would be how we are expanding our footprint, right? So we made 2 announcements last year in June and I think May, sometime around early part of last year. We have 2 expansion we are doing. So we'll go through that, and then we'll talk about hopefully our existing facilities. So the speakers are for Oliver Thiel, who are my colleagues, going to give you the introduction and overview on what we are focusing on for diversity. And then Tiffany Thiel is going to talk about what it takes to bring a product, people, scientists working on it, and how we commercialize it. Then Tracy Sharner, who's a plant manager from North Carolina, and then Javier Tapia is going to talk about what we are doing in the Ohio plant. And then we'll come back to Oliver. We're going to talk about what the happenings in Cambridge, Mass. And then Monica Soban is going to talk about what we are doing in Amgen, Rhode Island manufacturing, right? So this is the timeline we have laid out. I really want to make sure we have time for question and answers, and we will make sure we preserve at least 15 minutes for that at the end. So with that, I'll turn it over to Oliver.
All right, thanks, Rohan, and I want to definitely thank the NSB team in Boston for hosting us here. It's a special day today, obviously, with the start of Black History Month, and what better day than having this event today. So very excited to really give you a little bit of background about Amgen and our approach to diversity. So Amgen is the leading biotechnology company. We are independent in that, and we're reaching 100 countries, and by now really have had the opportunity to reach millions of patients. So why is that relevant? It's really relevant financially, obviously, but first and foremost, it is relevant because it allows us to fulfill our mission. And so if we go to the next slide, our mission really is so central to everything what we do. We want to serve patients, and we really in the operations organization in Amgen are very central to that mission. One of the subtexts that we really focused on is every patient, every time. So our big focus really is to deliver life-saving medicines to patients. Those patients, it could be within our family, there could be people that we know, and to me, there is nothing more rewarding to really having part of the journey of bringing a medicine to a patient. Our social framework really, which is shown on the next slide, is what really drives how we operate on a day-to-day basis, right? I have been at Amgen for 19 years, and ultimately, when somebody asks me, why are you still at Amgen? I always go back to 3 fundamentals. It is the quality of the science we're doing, the promising of the pipeline, but then last but not least, really what's most important, the colleagues I'm surrounded with and the behaviors we're displaying when we're doing our important work on a day-to-day basis. So what are we centering us around? Being science-based, competing intensely and winning. We want to create value for patients, staff, and stockholders, so have a balanced approach towards value creation. Being ethical is absolutely foundational to everything we're doing. Trust and respect is very important. Every work package we deliver is very cross-functional, so working strong within teams is critical to our success. And then last but not least, we're very much interested in ensuring quality, because only if we deliver quality on the day-to-day work we're doing, are we gaining the privilege to serve patients. And so to me, our values really reflect very well on what we're doing on a day-to-day basis at Amgen. So with the values and the structural, really social governance surrounding us, we can really talk a little bit more about our strategy. And our strategy is on this slide here, and I perhaps want to double click in each of those portions. Innovative medicines. So we are not a Me Too company. We are very much focused on delivering life-saving drugs, making large impact, and doing that with first and foremost with innovation. We have by now a global geographic reach. When I joined Amgen 19 years ago, the vast majority of our revenue was US-centric. Since then, we really have driven a strategy of geographic expansion. And as I mentioned, we're now serving patients in more than 100 countries in the world. We're focused on investing for long-term growth. So our capital allocation is very strategic. And we have seen that with the 2 new sites in North Carolina and Ohio. They will enable us to serve even more patients in the future. And we'll hear more about that from Javier and Tracy. We're always interested in transforming Amgen for the future. We're really not a steady state company. We're always looking forward. How can we improve us? How can we make sure that the success we are achieving today, we can replicate and enhance even more a decade from now? A big core strength of us is really next generation manufacturing. We are definitely a leader in that field, and we rely really on the technical expertise of engineers and others to really bring together aspects of process development, engineering, and manufacturing to build and operate the manufacturing plants of the future. And avenue we have really started 10 years ago, and it's now very successful and impactful both for Amgen's bottom line, but also for patient access, are branded biosimilars. We have introduced a very reliable supply chain and way to manufacture biologics, and we leverage that to expand patient access to biosimilars and have another opportunity to save patients that way. Next slide. From a research perspective, we're really focused on fundamentals. So the targets we're working on are genetically validated. We're very much focused on leveraging biological understanding to identify the right targets, But then in the pursuit of those targets, we are modality independent. Our strengths are in biologics and the synthetics. We're reaching out to new modalities in the oligonucleotide space, as well as in the gene therapy space. Protein engineering is a core strength of Amgen. We not operating only commercially from a global perspective, we're also executing global clinical trials. I already talked about biologics manufacturing. And then last but not least, we have a very successful launch track record and really the global commercial infrastructure. Next slide, please. This is our presence, so perhaps I'll spend a little bit more time about that, focusing here mostly in the US. The Amgen headquarters are in Thousand Oaks, a site I myself also worked at for 15 years. We have a strong process development and operations presence here in Boston, in the Cambridge area, and really the heart of BioTech at Kendall Square. And then we have the 2 additional big manufacturing sites currently in the US, in Puerto Rico and in Rhode Island. And we're really looking forward to expanding that footprint by adding the 2 red dots to this slide around Ohio and North Carolina. So those will be added in due course. Next slide, please. From a therapeutic area perspective, we are established fairly broadly. Our main focus area are oncology and hematology, inflammation and cardiovascular disease, as well as bone health. We have efforts in neuroscience and nephrology, but our 4 big target areas are the aforementioned. Next slide, please. So obviously would be remiss to introduce Amgen here without talking about our commitment to diversity. I think you can read the words on this slide and really sense the deep commitment that Amgen has to diversity, inclusion, and belonging. But perhaps I want to share a couple of more concrete examples along those lines, and then certainly happy to answer any additional questions in the Q&A. I myself have been very much engaged for us at the site. Each of our sites has a diversity, inclusion, and belonging council, and that's where we really bring together our site leadership team, as well as leads from the individual employee research groups to define the strategy and really the local culture of diversity at the sites. Within Amgen, we have nearly 10,000 staff members engaged in one of our 11 ERGs, employee resource groups, and our Amgen Black Employee Network is certainly one of the more active employee research groups. The plethora of events that actually just were publicized today, obviously it's a unique day. But there's, I think in AMA alone, 4 events that we'll have coming up over the next 4 weeks where we really have a chance to engage through the leadership of our Amgen Black Employee Network with staff at the site. And what's important to me is it's a combination really of Black employees, but then also a very large portion of allies that really are there to break down the perceived or real barriers that could potentially be there, right, and enable everybody to be able to succeed at Amgen. Second effort is really the recruitment of diverse talent. Obviously, an outreach like this, hopefully in one part, can contribute to that. But we have many other efforts. We have a leaders program ongoing with Northeastern University, a deep engagement with Howard University, as well as some very much targeted recruiting that we have done over the last years. We had a big collaboration with our site in Rhode Island, so AMA and ARI, and we're looking forward really to leverage some of that energy and engagement we have built and share that with our colleagues in Ohio and North Carolina. And last but not least, the other thing Amgen is engaged with locally, very locally in Cambridge, is the Kendall Square Association. The Kendall Square Association has been driving a very important program in anti-racism called Inclusion Drives Innovation. I think that probably sums it up to me, really the value statement. I think without inclusion and diversity, I don't think innovation exists, and without innovation, it's hard to develop medicines and be innovative, right? So for me, there's a clear linkage. there's a clear call to action, and I think Amgen is very proud to supporting the Kendall Square Association Inclusion Drives Diversity program. So hope that shed a little bit more light into some of the diversity commitments Amgen has, but we certainly should double click if interested in the Q&A. So with that, I'll have one last slide really about the broader commitment of Amgen in the community. We have a very active engagement there through an Amgen Scholars Program, active staff volunteering. The Amgen BioTech experience brings the Amgen curriculum both through lab exchange as well as through high school class visits to a large population. We're trying to reach a lot of high school students and really move the needle around diversity in the STEM fields. And last but not least, we're engaged in the breakaway from cancer and breakaway from heart disease. So I believe that was my last slide for the Amgen overview. So with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce the headliner of this event. Tiffany Teal is an executive director in our process development organization, and she will go a little bit more scientific than I was here, talking about how to discover, develop, manufacture, and commercialize medicine.
Hi, everybody. Pleasure to be with you today. And in previous versions of the agenda, you may have seen Chetan Gudar's name from Amgen. I'm kind of stepping in for him. At the moment, he had a family emergency, and like every team at Amgen, the most important thing is our family. Family comes first. So tonight, you get me. And I'm really happy to be here, really happy to discuss something that I'm really passionate about, which is discovering, developing, manufacturing, and commercializing medicines. Next slide, please. So let's talk about this development process. Certainly developing new medicines is an expensive, is a complex process. And there are many risks of failure along all the way, all the steps that we take. And the steps that we take are really outlined in this slide from left to right, sort of starting with basic research, moving into drug discovery, preclinical trials, where we sort of put these new chemical entities into animal models and see what they do. And hopefully out of that, we've reached some milestones where we have a potential new medicine and we file what is an IND, an investigational new drug application. That allows us to move into the clinic, to move into the human space. And we do that by progressing into phase 1 trials where we look at tens of patients, healthy volunteers. And the real aim of that trial is to understand safety and tolerability of our drugs. If all goes well there, we progress into phase 2. Here we're looking at hundreds of patients, but now folks who are in a disease state. And we're trying to here sort of tease out dose response and also understand, hopefully, some signs of efficacy of the product. Again, if that goes well, and it doesn't always go well, as you can tell by this smaller and smaller number of potential new medicines as we move from left to right on the slide. But if it does go well, then we head into phase 3 trial. Those are obviously global clinical trials. Those are thousands of patients. We're really looking to understand and to have a diversity of patients in those registrational type trials. And that really becomes the foundational clinical data set for us to put a package together and submit a marketing authorization. So that can come by way of an NDA, a new drug application for our synthetic molecules, or a biological licensure application for our biologics. Amgen kind of deals with modalities across all that space. So small molecules, synthetics, as Oliver said, oligonucleotides, siRNAs, bispecific T-cell engagers, and then sort of your typical monoclonal antibodies, which is a business that Amgen's been in for quite some time now. That package of information, clinical, chemistry, manufacturing, and controls, all sort of goes to the FDA, is reviewed, and hopefully what comes out of that is an FDA-approved medicine. But like I said, like the slide is meant to convey, it's not a very high success rate. Okay, so estimates are that about 10 to 12% of molecules that enter clinical development actually eventually get to the point of FDA approval. And it's especially not a high success rate when you consider all the tens of thousands of molecules that are kind of involved in that basic research drug discovery work that are just being screened to understand if they're potential new medicines. So to add a couple of more pieces of data around this, January 2021, there were approximately 7,800 new chemical entities or products in clinical development, so in active clinical trials. And in 2021, the FDA approved 50 products, 2 of which thankfully were Amgen after years and years of research. And those 50 drugs had an average duration of research and development of about 10 to 15 years, some longer, as I'll talk about. And those assets had investments of the order of $2.6 billion apiece. So again, a lot of potential new medicines in the very early stages of this flow. Very, very few sort of reach FDA approval. So I talked about 2 Amgen medicines being approved in 2021. One of those was tezepelumab for the treatment of asthma. Another was Lumakras for the treatment of adults who have non-small cell lung cancer. So these, unfortunately, are patients whose cancer has spread. Cancer is inoperable. They're also patients, whose tumors have an abnormal, what we call KRAS mutation. And so, just think about a mutation, think about a genetic mutation. 40 years ago, scientists knew of KRAS, and they knew that this was an oncogene. They knew that mutations in the KRAS protein were prevalent in 1/5 of all human cancers. So this is a prevalent mutation in 30% of colorectal cancer, 40% of non-small cell lung cancer, 90+% of pancreatic cancer. And we knew this 40 years ago. And it took 40 years to get to a molecule that could progress into phase 1 study. So just again, to give you the Amgen experience, that's an Amgen molecule, but this was an undruggable target for 4 decades. And the entire industry was working on it. So, so that basic research, drug discovery, preclinical realm here on the slide for that molecule took 40 years. And certainly when we got the molecule and we progressed it to phase 1, we knew we had to go fast. We had an unmet medical need. We had 40 years of waiting, in the rearview mirror. And so really proud of Amgen and operations to say that, after we dosed our first patient in phase 1, 2 years and 9 months later, we had an approved product, which is kind of an amazing timeline for drug development. We used every accelerated approval pathway known to us by the FDA. It was a breakthrough therapy designated molecule. But again, it just kind of goes to underscore how difficult this journey can be, how long this journey can be, and how intensive. So next slide, please. So you might be asking yourselves, with that 40-year-long journey that I talked about, how do we speed up this basic research and drug discovery platform? And the way we do that at Amgen is through investment in innovative research platforms. And the 3 that come to mind, and there are many, many more, are the use of human genetics, the use of understanding pathway biology, and molecular engineering. So we'll kind of delve a little bit deeper into each of these. From a human genetics perspective, we really think that Amgen kind of has a head start in this, and that's very much in part due to our acquisition of Decode Genetics. It's a subsidiary of Amgen, which is located in Iceland. And Decode has really pioneered this concept of collecting large-scale genetic data and large-scale health data and using statistical analysis to understand if there's a link between the 2. And so in practice, this has included, obtaining detailed genetic information as well as detailed medical records for some 500,000 people across the world. And the premise here is quite simple, and that is that, all medicines really target a protein that is involved in human disease. And if this in-depth human data can help us sort of pinpoint what are the genes, what are the proteins that are involved in human disease, then it may allow us to lay the groundwork to find those next new innovative therapies. So that's sort of the thought process around using human genetics to drive targeted method development and to develop new targets. From a pathway biology perspective, really here we're understanding that cellular processes are not just one protein. It's many proteins interacting with each other, and this spatially and temporally organized set of interactions is what really drives biological function. And any disruption in those interactions is what really drives biological disease or a disease state. So understanding pathway biology to us is really about understanding this molecular interaction network, if you will. So we spend quite a lot of time trying to do that in discovery phases. And then switching gears to molecular engineering, here we are trying to tailor the molecule to do what we want it to do. Okay, so we're trying to tailor the molecule to fit a target product profile, a quality target profile. You might think, okay, I want a molecule that has superior stability, that has very extensive shelf life, as one example. And so all of those molecules that Amgen has researched in the past that unfortunately didn't go all the way forward in clinical trial, we learned something from those molecules. We have data sets on those molecules. We have stability information about those molecules. And what we're trying to do is figure out how do we use those failures to help us be successful in the future. So if I think about that from a stability standpoint, then I think about chemical liabilities. Chemical liabilities can be very site-specific attributes. There are sequence motifs and sequence residues that could give rise to degradation pathways. And if we understand those liabilities and we're able to predict those occurrences, then we can design that out of our molecules. And that's really what molecular engineering does. So we use these three platforms, research platforms, to get us to the right molecule, and hopefully to get us there quicker than a 4-year turnaround time. Next slide, please. So it's not just enough to discover the molecule. Obviously, once we discover the molecule, we have to move with such speed because we want that molecule to be able to meet that unmet medical need as soon as possible. So we work to develop and to manufacture these materials. As Oliver mentioned earlier, our remit in operations is every patient, every time. So no patient going without, never being out of a supply of our drug. We've always been able to do that at Amgen, and I'm confident we can do that in the future. We do that because we have reliable, consistent, scalable manufacturing processes that are well controlled and that are also well understood. So take, for example, here, the typical unit operations that sort of move you from cell line creation all the way to a monoclonal antibody. Cell line creation, cultivation, cell expansion, production of the protein itself, isolation and purification of that protein, formulation, fill, and finish. So those are the unit operations. Looks really easy on paper. Our plant managers on the phone know it's not really easy in practice. But the other thing that I want to point out here is that we have checkpoints of attributes. So there are critical quality attributes, could be purity, could be impurities, could be the propensity of this monoclonal antibody to aggregate, could be any number of things, and actually is a whole host of things that we measure in these processes. And we kind of insert these checkpoints all along the way to ensure product quality, which essentially ensures patient safety. So what we have to wrap up in our marketing application are a few things, a few work packages. One, we need to understand the molecule in and out. In depth, we need to understand its attributes and its inherent characteristics. We need to understand this manufacturing process. And we need to characterize it as we move and we position and we change process parameters. We need to understand, what does that do to these critical quality attributes? What does that do to the purity? And then we need to understand, what's the so what of that? So what if we change the purity? Does that affect patient safety? So those are the three questions we need to kind of understand. Here's how we manufacture it. We understand very clearly the manufacturing process. We understand how the attributes change. We understand the ranges of these critical quality attributes that don't affect patient safety. And then the final aspect is giving the regulatory agency assurance that we've controlled it all. And we control that by analytical measures and analytical measurements, these checkpoints in the process, and we control that also by automation. So those are the things that we're giving in our chemistry manufacturing control sections of a regulatory filing. And those are the things that global health authorities and regulators around the world are scrutinizing and asking us questions about in process development and operations. And the other thing that I would mention on this slide that's really not here is that there's a lot of data coming from these processes. So end-to-end data integration is also very important. And at Amgen, we've invested so much in that. We've invested so much in that we can walk into a room or sit at a display and we can look and see how a manufacturing process is performing at one manufacturing site versus another. We can look and see how the attributes are trending at one manufacturing site versus another. And we can look and see how an analytical method that's testing these attributes is performing at one testing location versus another. So a great deal of investment in digital transformation as well to enable and to make sure that we're staying in a state of control. Next slide, please. So again, not enough to just discover, not enough to just develop, not enough to just manufacture, but now we need to commercialize. And we need to do that in a global setting. So Oliver mentioned earlier and showed you the map, and all the red dots were all these manufacturing sites. And we want to leverage that manufacturing network to make sure that every patient, every time, that remit of operations. But we don't just want to rest on our laurels and say that, fixed stainless steel bioreactors, that's what we do today, that's what we're going to do tomorrow, that's what we're going to do 10 years from now. We want to innovate in this manufacturing space as well, and that's really what this slide is sort of getting to. This is showing you the innovation in bioprocessing, moving from things like fixed stainless steel reactors to single-use bioreactors, the downsizing and the footprint that comes with that, the efficiency that comes with that, the ability to move from maybe a single product, a single train, to a multi-product facility, and also to have an aim at environmental sustainability as well. And that's happening in the biologics side of the business. It's also happening in the synthetics side of the business, where we manufacture drugs by chemical synthesis. And typically, and kind of back in the day, if you will, we would do that in large scale batch reactors, stainless steel reactors, just like bioreactors. But now Oliver and his team and folks at Amgen are doing chemistry in flow. And so we're able to take that manufacturing plant and sort of squeeze it into something that's essentially the size of a walk-in fume hood. So a great deal of innovation in the manufacturing and in commercialization as well. And Tracy's going to tell you a whole lot more about that when she talks about Flex Batch, and she talks about our North Carolina facility, and she's coming up next. So hopefully, I tried to press through that pretty quickly, but hopefully from me, you got an understanding of how lengthy this process of drug discovery and development can be as we press medicines and we transform molecules rather into medicines. And then also just how rewarding it can be. Everyone who works in this biopharmaceutical field and who works at Amgen takes a great pride in bringing products to market, knowing that they have made some impact in a patient outcome. It's really important to us. That's what gets me out of bed every single day. And third, you know, that innovation is important at every single step. It's an important aspect of discovery, of development, of manufacture, and of commercialization, as we show on this slide. So with that, I will turn it over to Tracy, and she'll tell you even more about global biomanufacturing and the innovations that we're achieving there.
Thank you, Tiffany. Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Schorner. You know, I've been with Amgen now over 18 years, and I graduated with a degree in chemical engineering. I started in manufacturing as an operator and have progressed my career through manufacturing, engineering, and process development. And now I am very excited to be the leader of the new plant that we're building in North Carolina. So I'm honored to be here tonight and talk to you about the new site, how we're contributing to environmental sustainability, and our hiring plans. So next slide. So on this slide, you can see to the right a rendering of our support building that hopefully will be built in the next couple of years in Holly Springs, North Carolina. So Holly Springs is in the Raleigh-Durham area, which is an established biotech hub in North Carolina, and we're very excited to be joining numerous great companies that are there already. We are going to be building, you know, this support building, also a manufacturing building, a warehouse, our own utility generation building, have lab space, and then have workspace for all of our support staff. Now lower in the right side of this slide, you can see what the site looks like probably about 2 weeks ago. So, you know, there's nothing there yet. We are officially breaking ground next month and currently just working on clearing and grading the land so that we can build all of these fantastic things. So we have a ways to go, but we are very excited to be doing it. So I want to talk a little bit about this term flex batch. That is what we are calling this facility. And as Tiffany alluded to, this is really the opportunity for Amgen to move into its next generation of manufacturing by combining what we call, you know, traditional large stainless steel reactors with a smaller set of single-use, flexible technologies. And so at Amgen, we have those traditional big stainless steel facilities, and we have these smaller single-use focused facilities, and this one will be the combination of the two, because through combining them and the great work that our process development team has done, you know, we've really been able to advance the productivity of our process, and we're going to be able to output, you know, much more drug substance than we have been able to in the past. And this flex batch is really about that flexible approach in doing that. So overall, we will be investing $550 million into this site and hiring over 355 staff to work there in North Carolina. And through this project, our goal is to continue to advance our diversity and to bring in the most diverse and capable team to help us deliver to the mission that Oliver talked about in serving every patient every time. And along the way, you know, we really are going to be focusing on advancing our digital technologies and environmental sustainability. So if we go to the next slide, I want to talk to you about our environmental sustainability pathway over the next 6 years. So this is our 2027 environmental sustainability plan, which is also known as our road to net zero. And these are our ambitious targets on reducing carbon emissions, reducing our water consumption, reducing our waste. And this is actually Amgen's third environmental sustainability plan since 2008. And through this one, our goal is to achieve carbon neutrality by 2027. So how we're going to get there is really focused on the innovation that Tiffany was talking about, and also bringing efficiency to our processes, and then advancing renewable energy. And so this is really where this new site in North Carolina is going to contribute to the plan. So, on the innovation side of things, this new plant and this combination of flexible manufacturing is expected to reduce our carbon footprint by 50% and our water usage by 50% compared with a traditional drug substance plant. Again, this is enabled by the intensification of our processes and this hybrid approach of how we're going to use our equipment. On the efficiency side of things, we are going to be putting in a rainwater collection system that will divert that rainwater that would just be runoff to our cooling towers. So that will lower our water consumption. We're also going to be installing electrochromatic glass on our support buildings, and this glass will automatically tint depending on the temperature or time of day so that we can control the heat gain in the buildings and lower our HVAC costs. And then on the renewable energy side, we're going to be advancing building a 2 megawatt solar generation capability on site through a combination of installation of solar panels on our building roofs and our grounds. So, very excited to be contributing to this awesome mission to become carbon neutral by 2027. And so, how we're going to get there is we're going to need people. So if you can go to the next slide. So this is, just a high-level overview of our ramp-up plans. So today we have 10 people associated with this site. It's a very small team, and like I said, we are aspiring to be over 355. So, throughout the next few years, we're going to be really building out our team in North Carolina. We're going to start this year bringing in our leadership, bringing in subject matter experts, and then working with the community to build relationships and, hopefully have events like these so that we can meet talent. And then next year, 2023, that's really where we're going to be ramping up hiring. We're going to be bringing in the teams to get the facility operationally ready. And those teams will be in manufacturing, in quality, in facilities and engineering, supply chain, across the board. And then the year after, 2024, is when we're anticipating that we'll complete commissioning and qualification of all of the new equipment that we're purchasing to support the manufacturing and lab systems. We will have our site and plant operationally ready, and we will be staffed and ready to perform the qualification runs. And so those, in Tiffany's timeline, those are the runs that we have to complete to demonstrate manufacturability and to submit our application to the FDA for a new medicine. And then through the outer years, 2025 and 2026 is where we hope to bring in multiple products. We will speed up production and continue to build out our team so that by 2029, we are fully loaded, fast-paced manufacturing with multiple products approved and fully staffed. And to be there in 2029, it's a matter of the number of people, but we really, really want to get the best diverse talent. So, we are focusing on that. As I mentioned, will leverage partnerships that we can to talk to people that would be interested in joining our teams. And then, once we get the people to join our team, we want to be the best place to work, and we want to focus on developing careers with our staff so that they want to stay with Amgen. And so we'll be leveraging programs like rotational programs where staff have opportunities to rotate through different careers and different jobs over the next or over 18 months. Sorry, I'm just seeing a question from John. C&Q is commissioning and qualification. And then we will also develop programs locally to upskill and train our workforce, and really focus on engagement and retention. And so, building this team is what I'm most excited about for the site. We have a ways to go, and I'm very happy to be here to tell you about our plans. You can check us out on LinkedIn. We'll be, posting jobs there. And then we also have a career landing site on the Amgen website. So check us out. And thank you so much for having me here. And I will now turn it over to Javier to talk about Ohio.
Thank you, Tracy. Hope there's no more noise on the background. And thank you, everyone, for orchestrating this opportunity to be here with us, sharing who we are at Amgen. So my name is Javier Tapia. I come from Puerto Rico. I've been working pretty much long years as Tracy here at Amgen, joined the company in 2006. And before I was member of pharmaceutical industry as a chemical engineer as well. Nearly 20 years already in experience. I've had the blessing and opportunity to actually grow from a entry-level engineer in Amgen, all the way through management in process development, director of introduction of new technologies, new products. I've seen the inception of a molecule at clinical stages, seeing its growth in the lab, seeing the tech transfers into the manufacturing, seeing its scalabilities, seeing opportunities from end to end. So I've been blessed for actually having the opportunity to grow within Amgen. So, these are exciting times to promote diversity, growth, and talents with these new opportunities that Amgen has to offer. So let's talk about what are the key aspects that the Buckeye State in Ohio can actually bring to this organization. So next slide, please. So this is a small snapshot of our current capabilities. So, everything that we do today, you can easily reach out through the amgen.com website. It's very open. You can go through each of the different commercial drug products and our pipeline that we have today. And as mentioned earlier, what was done in the clinical stage was done at the development stage. What's done earlier from Tracy's capabilities in drug substance, in the end, we need to deliver it in a form factor that translates into customer satisfaction. So we have multiple platforms that ranges from vials, from syringes, from auto-injectors to on-body devices. And this is a key part aspect for the drug delivery of these life-changing products that we have. So we need to assemble them. We need to provide identity, label them, protect them in a packaging configuration. And in this case, we have the great opportunity that nearly every single form factor, nearly every single drug product that we do, we will have been blessed to actually package it, assemble it in our new Amgen, Ohio facility. Next slide, please. I'm not going to talk too much about this because Oliver already gave us some insights. We have a strong presence globally. When it comes to manufacturing specifically, I want to highlight from the final drug product, which is assembly and labeling and packaging. We have a strong presence in Puerto Rico, in the Ireland, in the Europe, and Netherlands. But part of our strategy is to pretty much protect our great problem statement that we have. And a problem statement bottom line is our pipeline is growing, our commercial product is growing. So we need to reinforce that we deliver our products to our patients. And that's the main driver for us to promote the growth in our Amgen, Ohio facility. Every patient, every time. So this is where our new facility, Ohio, comes into play. So let's go towards our next slide, please. So we have an exciting opportunity to build from ground up a greenfield opportunity similar to the North Carolina in the US to focus on this particular market and help the audience in this particular region. Actually, even support the, I think it was region number 4 on the ecosystems as expressed by Dolu earlier in this particular area of Ohio. So the main focus, as mentioned earlier, is for the assembly of our injectors, syringes, and a combination product, parenteral form and packaging. This is going to be a next generation facility that will enable through smart factory or digital innovation, a lot of vertical and horizontal integration and connectivity with data sets that will promote a lot of process improvements. We will reinforce artificial intelligence. We will reinforce cobots. We will reinforce physical bots. We will reinforce data bots. We will reinforce automated systems and retrieval systems. And many of, probably a list of 40 or more digital innovations on our portfolio of catalog to choose on. In addition, similar to what Tracy mentioned, we are aiming to reinforce our sustainability goals to reducing our carbon footprint emission and aspirations to begin with our Mother Earth. The scope of this new facility will bring 7 manufacturing lines, a couple of quality labs, a couple of forensic labs, other amenities and accommodations. This is going to be a significant investment, nearly $400 million. But more importantly, the opportunity to actually create 400 jobs in this particular region. The aims and foundation of what we want to do is to actually promote diversity in this particular region. We're partnering with the Ohio State, One Job Columbus, even with the 110 Coalition commitment across the states. And I can tell you, as part of diversity, as mentioned earlier, I am Puerto Rican, so I am from Puerto Rico. And I'm very proud of my diverse roots. I made a choice to take a chance to make a change. So picture somebody coming from the Caribbean to actually Ohio State, temperature. It was not an easy choice for me to actually come from, but it's a new opportunity. It's a unique and blessing opportunity for me to lead the manufacturing team here in Ohio. I'm actually already relocated, so went through all this winter and upcoming, winter that is coming the next couple of weeks. Let's go to the next one, please. So this is, kind of a quick debrief. It's an underestimate of everything that we're going to be doing from a digital technologies and innovation, and how we can actually see it promote on our, what we call it, our READ pillars on reliability, efficiency, agility, and differentiation. Capabilities to reduce downtime, to improve our planning cycles, to increase capacity, to reduce the downtime, all that through multiple layers of data connectivity and integration of digital twins, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning for machine vision, and many other catalogs that we have already in scope for our new facility. Let's go to the next one. And so, very simplistic, as I call it, we have a multiverse of opportunities for growth here in Ohio. We just also got started in building our new team. We're nearly between the ranging on 30 or 40 employees out of 400. So we're barely less than 10% of our actual target. We're going to be gradually growing throughout the next years all the way towards 2025, towards reaching our needs for sustainability of our new facility. So what Amgen does today, and I think this is a underestimation on everything that we do from a manufacturing perspective. You can see, from top to bottom, every single step on, from like cell culture, purification, drug product filling, visual inspection. And for Ohio, it's in the very bottom, everything that we will do on a very simplistic way on assembly, labeling, packaging, and multiple functions that will support us to get there. So there are needs from technicians, operators, automation engineers, scientists, manufacturing managers, directors, promoting data analytics, promoting finance, promoting every single technical function that is needed from a direct and indirect labor on manufacturing. So with that being said, we will also be promoting and issuing a lot of job postings throughout the years, and hope that this was very helpful in you to get at least a glimpse in these few minutes on what is at hand. And for now, I will hand it out to my peers back into the Massachusetts opportunity.
All right, thanks. I mean, what a fantastic whirlwind of science and geographic locations. Thanks, Tiffany, for the scientific overview, and Tracy and Javier for the spotlights in North Carolina and Ohio. So we are on the home stretch here before the Q&A. I'll briefly summarize what we're actually doing at our site in Cambridge. So if we go to the next slide. At the site in Cambridge, we're at the early stage of the process development and operations activity. So we're interacting with our colleagues in research and development, in the design of the molecule, be it a large molecule or a small molecule. Our core delivery really is the development of the processes for those molecules to ultimately enabling turning them into medicines. And that happens for the drug substances, for the drug products, as well as for the devices. And then on the delivery side, we have a quality organization as well as a compliance aspect at the site that really support the launch and then the commercial support of our products. So overall, a very integrated process development workflow. This is our building right in the middle of Kendall Square, 8 stories, fantastic location and fantastic environment. I enjoy being at that site every day. So we probably, in the interest of time, can skip over the next slide, and I'll jump directly into really the opportunity space there. This is a very busy slide because it's a very busy site, right? So we really enable the end-to-end workflow in process development, and for that we need a set of very diverse talent. So anything from drug substance scientists and engineers to data scientists, to drug product scientists, engineers, attribute scientists, virologists, material scientists, T-cell biologists, anybody and everybody with a scientific background really can become a valuable contributor for us at the site. So with that, I'll hand it over to Rhode Island, my Rhode Island colleague, to bring us completely home.
Thank you so much, Oliver, and good evening, everyone. I'm very honored to be part of this discussion. So my name is Monica Sobana, and I am currently acting as manufacturing director of upstream operation, and I'm also the site lead for diversity, inclusion, and belonging. So I will provide you with a very quick overview of our Rhode Island facility, which is located in West Greenwich, Rhode Island. So if we can please advance to the next slide. Our manufacturing operation are delivering reliable supply to about 12 different drug substance products for US and global markets. Our campus was acquired in 2002 with our stainless steel plant approved in 2005 by FDA, and it's considered one of the world's largest mammalian protein manufacturing facilities. Our manufacturing plant operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with very skilled workforce of about 900 staff. We are capable of concurrent and multi-product operations, and our QC laboratories are considered a center of excellence and provide testing for the entire network. So if we can advance to the next slide. We are a fully integrated operation. We have on-site support from facilities and engineering, process development, quality, supply chain, finance, human resources. Our site is equipped with a traditional and the next generation manufacturing capability. So our Building 5 stainless steel plant is designed to achieve large scale, high throughput production, and it's capable of concurrent and multi-product operations. It uses a true strategic balance of stainless steel equipment and single-use technology to kind of help us with efficiency and flexibility. It is very highly automated. On the other hand, our Building 30 facility is our newly constructed next generation biomanufacturing plant. And it produces biologics in a process that it's leaner, greener, and more productive. It replaces stainless steel equipment with recyclable single-use bags, which reduces cleaning time and increases overall efficiency. So, this plant implements more environmentally responsible approaches and will truly help us, meet Amgen's sustainability goals by consuming less energy and water. And I'm very proud to say that our site has been recognized as best place to work by Providence Business News for more than 14 years consecutively, which is a true testament to our culture and dedication of our staff. Our workforce is growing, and we have, many available job opportunities within manufacturing operations, facilities engineering, as well as quality operations. So as, mentioned by my colleagues, we are, actively recruiting to truly help us foster diverse points of view that will help us, to drive innovation and creativity that it's so needed to be competitive. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's the last slide we have. So first of all, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to my colleagues who did the hard work and talked through and present. They all did an outstanding job. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So what we'll do, we'll go to question and answers now. I told you we'll give you at least 15 minutes. So the first question, we'll go to the chat first and answer those two questions that's on here. There's two questions that's standing there. The first one is, are these new facilities geared towards specific medical or scientific disciplines? So I'll answer it, but I'll ask Tracy and have Javier to chime in. So, as Tracy mentioned, the new Flex Batch is going to target drug substance biologics manufacturing. And the plant in Ohio is going to target finished product. And it's pretty much any of the Amgen product could get finished there. Javier and Tracy, anything to add to that question there?
I'll just add that in the drug substance facility, we're targeting the first product to be produced it's Repatha. This is already a commercially licensed product that lowers high cholesterol, and it's extremely effective and an important part of the fight against cardiovascular disease. So we're very excited to be able to increase Amgen's ability to supply that product.
Javier, anything to add from the Ohio site? Okay, looks like Javier is on mute. Okay, next one, I will ask Tiffany to address the next question. Will someone explain Amgen's innovation parameters?
Thanks for the question, and I can. Sorry for the echo. I'm not sure where that's coming from. I don't know if it's on my end. Okay, it seems to have gone away. So thanks for the question. I was going to say that I can probably answer this in a variety of ways. So I'm going to start with answering it just on the basis of the molecules. And what I mean by that is that drugs can sort of take many shapes and many forms. And obviously, in a traditional sense, drugs before the birth of the biotechnology industry took the form of chemical synthesis, right? Natural products and using chemical synthesis to make antibiotics and other therapeutic agents. And of course, with the birth of biotechnology, we now have protein-based therapeutics that marriage and sort of bridge the marriage of science and the machinery of cells. But I will say that at Amgen, innovation in terms of the modalities, the therapeutics that we pursue can take any shape. Anything goes. And what I mean by that is we follow the biology. And if the biology tells us that a small molecule will meet that target and inhibit that protein and do something that is efficacious, we'll pursue a small molecule. If the biology tells us that it has to be a monoclonal antibody, we'll do that. If it tells us we could do both paths and see which one wins, we'll do both. And so I guess the most important thing that I could stress here in terms of innovation parameters, and apologies if I'm not reading the question or interpreting the question well, but the best answer that I can give you is that we are a modality agnostic company. So we will innovate and make whatever is the best medicine, the best therapeutic, be it a synthetic, a small molecule, a peptide, an oligonucleotide, a monoclonal antibody that affects biological function. And so we're a modality agnostic company, and I think that's important to mention in terms of our approach to innovation.
Okay, thank you, Tiffany. I hope that answers your question, Alicia. Okay, so let's go to live question. Does anybody have any question they want to go? I mean, I think you can do is raise your hands, and then we could call on you. I don't see any hands. Were we that clear? We answered all your questions you have?
No, I see John Thomas has a question. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to put forth a question that was shared with me in private one-on-one, and so I think it's a valuable question and perhaps could be spoken to. Is where are Amgen's R&D centers of excellence? Much of what was presented today really is in and around manufacturing and production, and as a fellow biomedical engineer, looking at the product development process, I saw design, develop, and distribute, which is effectively manufacture and produce. Where is the design centers of excellence for those on the call?
Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, no, I certainly happy to take that, John. Thanks for raising the hand and posing that question. So I would say two things to that. I mean, within the operations function process development, there's certainly a significant amount of innovation happening, and there really our strengths holds are in the Cambridge area, as well as in our headquarters in Thousand Oaks. And then our research organization, again, is set up globally. So the two largest research centers we have in really the discovery and the design space is in Thousand Oaks, and then in Amgen San Francisco. So we have a big focus in those two biotech hubs. And then beyond that, we have centers of excellence that we're spanning all the way to Denmark, Canada, as well as Amgen Munich in Germany. Those are, I think, the sites that were really design at the core of the design, and really the discovery is pursued for Amgen.
Thanks, Dr. Tal. And I'll ask another follow-on that was shared with me as well is, with NSBE having a global footprint, how does Amgen support, especially as it relates against their diversity and inclusion initiatives, global talent? For example, a student at, we'll just say, the Ohio State University from Nigeria is interested in opportunities with Amgen. How does Amgen support that align with their diversity and inclusion initiatives?
Can I ask Tanya or Vera to answer that question? Help us with an answer for that.
Hello,
Yeah.
everyone. This is Vera Tiagi. I'm the Human Resources Director at the Amgen Rhode Island location. So that's a great question. I would just like to say for students that are out of country students at universities and they're interested in opportunities, there is the opportunity for them to, when they graduate, have, I think it's 2 to 3 years as part of, I believe it's a J1, where they can have an opportunity to, get some experience under their belt. And then, of course, during that process, if they need to apply for, formal immigration process through the H-1B process, then that's certainly something Amgen would support as well. So I would say, for students here, that probably is the fastest and best way, is to do that kind of experience opportunity. I think it's 2 to 3 years on that particular visa. So when you're a student, you are allowed to gain that experience before you complete your education and go back to your home country, and then that can be the process towards a formal position. Tanya, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
And I think the only addition is that depending upon if you're in that program, we do have opportunities for students to segue directly into positions. So we do have some programs. There's a select few, and I just want to be transparent about those that directly help guide you into a program. We're looking at high performers or individuals that have made that commitment also with Amgen. So there are a couple programs that support that.
Thank you, Tanya, Vera, Dr. Tail, and Rohan.
Okay, thank you. How about any other questions? I don't know if I'm seeing if people are raising hands or not. Does anybody see anybody have their hands up? Any one of my colleagues or Shadia, do you see any hands there that we are not seeing?
I don't see any more hands.
I don't.
Okay, all right.
I think I
There's
just saw
one. Yeah, there's one here. Both. Yep.
Pussy, you can ask your question, Adebayo.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my name is Bufiya Adebayo. So I just wanted to know what is Biogen doing, because now that everything is becoming single use, most of the critical operations in the biopharma industry is becoming single use. You talk about single use reactor, single use bioreactor, single use sensor, single use filter, single use this, single use that. So what are you doing about environmental impacts of this deposition of all these single-use materials?
Hi, I'll take a stab at this one, and then Tracy, feel free to add. So one thing we're looking at, so very good question. I'm sorry, Teddy, stop. My dog is barking there. Tracy, can you take the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we are definitely engaged in and then always looking to expand recycling programs. So, actually Rhode Island has an extremely advanced recycling program of all of these plastics and filters. They get converted into park benches and parking curbs. And so, definitely reusing it. And then the other just, I think, interesting thing about single use that while it is, single use and disposable, it does really drive down energy consumption costs and utilization of water and chemicals and steam. And so overall, the carbon footprint is much lower for single use. So it's that combination of, looking at those technologies where it's appropriate and enabling our plants to reduce their energy and utility consumption, which is overall really great for the environment, and then partnering with local programs to recycle as much as possible.
Thank you, Tracy. You look like you read my mind. Very well done. You added even more. So thank you. So okay. Any other last minute question? Because I want to this is the folks you saw. If you want to take a picture, you know how to find these folks on LinkedIn. So thank you again, team. Monaco, next slide. And this is, if you need to contact us, please take a photo of this here. You could contact, I have Tanya, Lara, myself, and Renako's email. And I want to thank for Renako. He was behind the scene, controlling master of all the slides, progressing that. So with that, I'll just take a minute here. And first of all, thank the entire audience here. I hope you got something out of this. The first day of the month, Black History Month. Amgen, we're really proud to be part of this. Really want to thank the NSBE Boston NSBE team and also the HiSig team to giving us the opportunity for us to share what we're doing here. So with that, I'll turn it over back to Shadia. Thank you.
Yeah, just to echo, really just want to extend a warm thank you to everyone, our presenters, and certainly, on behalf of NSBE Boston chapter, really just appreciate the impactful presentation, discussion, the great questions that we were able to engage in this afternoon or this evening. So thank you to our HiSig partners as well. Shun, anything additional to add?
Thank you. This was very I guess thought-provoking and insightful. I hope all the NSBE members from across the country got some. And please feel free to connect with Lara, Rohan, and the other Amgen team members on LinkedIn or via email. Please do that right now if you're on. I know a lot of you have questions, reach out to us, but I mean, they're providing their contact information. So please do it right now. And thank you again, Rohan, for being, allowing us to do this. And we hope to do more and continue doing this. Again, we're having our Inspire STEM Gala. Amgen is actually it's our highest partner. We have other visionary partners, but Amgen is one of them. So we're excited. We're giving away scholarships on behalf of Amgen. So we're excited. So you guys put your money where your mouth is as well. So we thank you, Amgen, for just being in there with us, for being that advocate. So we're excited. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for attending, and we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming events. Hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Great to be with you.